Okay, in this video, we're going to look at rumors about Series 13 of Doctor Who after this. Hello out there, I'm the oldest nerd, and in Season 13 of Doctor Who, we're going to go into, and forgive me, our friends in the UK usually refer to each new season of a show to be called a series, whereas in the United States it's called a season. I think over here the reason it's called a season is because it coincides with planting season, in which program ideas are placed in clay pots, and when they smell bad enough, they're put on, and then they become big hits, sadly. At any rate, with Series 13 of Doctor Who, there's going to be more exploration into the timeless child. Now, that was kind of the mystery in Series 12, in which we don't know about what the Doctor's past as the timeless child means until it's teased as the Ruth Doctor is introduced near the end of the series, and played by Jo Martin, by the way, which was brilliant. I would love to see her be the next Doctor, but more on that in a moment. Basically, what we have here in the end, she finds that she is in fact the timeless child, and was not actually born on Gallifrey, but came from somewhere else, was rescued by someone from Gallifrey, and they found that the regeneration capability of her race of beings was interesting, and from that they used DNA to create the race of the Time Lords. So all of the rules that deal with the Time Lords don't deal with the Doctor, because the Doctor really isn't a Time Lord, but rather kind of the model on which the Time Lords were made. A very interesting alteration to the canon of the show, in which we've always been led to believe that William Hartnell's Doctor was the first Doctor, even referred to in series. However, there have been people who have said that Doctor Who canon isn't really canon, and in fact, the inconsistencies in the show over all of these years has never really gone together. If you lined everything up from William Hartnell up until the current time, you would find there have been many contradictions of what we would call canon. In fact, while at first William Hartnell's Doctor was from Earth, later he is from another planet, and they established Time Lords only by the second Doctor, and the idea that the Doctor actually stole his TARDIS was dealt with later, and there are other things that have contradicted themselves. And in fact, Christopher Eccleston has said that the canon should be exploded because it limits the imagination to say that you could only regenerate 12 times, or you could only do this, or you could only do that, when we should limit the expression of future shows only to the imagination. And there is some merit to that, I believe. At any rate, so we have a whole different place to go, and it's not the first time we've used alternate universes in Doctor Who. In Tom Baker's time, there was E-Space, in which they spent a certain amount of time in. So multiple dimensions have been expressed, and that is kind of the guess of the origin of our Doctor, is that she came from another dimensional plane, really, before she arrived in Gallifrey. Also, parallel Earth was used in the David Tennant's time, as Rose Tyler is sent over to an alternate dimension where her father is still alive and her parents are happily married, and then she goes back over there kind of reluctantly because she doesn't want to leave the Doctor, but he also sends out, they somehow clone a copy of him that's not really a Time Lord that can go out, and she seems to find him kind of second best, but that's a whole different thing. Then, of course, she's never able to come back, but then she comes back anyway. There's, how many times has the Master died and not regenerated, or been at the end of his regenerations and somehow found some way to come back? Even in Tom Baker's time, the Master was on his 12th regeneration and should not have been able to regenerate again, but did because he used some made-up power. A time when he refuses to regenerate and they even burn him in a funeral pyre, he is able to come back as Missy. So they don't explain these things and don't really need to. And this is not unusual in science fiction. I would bring up Lost in Space. If you recall there, it did not seem to have any consistency from one episode to the other. Dr. Smith's origins, he started out as a medical doctor and then became a doctor as an honorary title. He started out as a KGB agent, and then he was just kind of a person who accidentally got caught on board. They moved sets around. Behind one door would be one thing one episode and a completely different thing in another, and not just because it was a closet. It went like that, and it didn't last but only 2 or 3 years, whereas Doctor Who, going on as long as it can, I can't imagine their ability to make sure everything is lined up, even if they tried to do it. So why try? At any rate, because of this, they will have a lot of opportunity to meet new aliens, to go to different places and have new challenges, and have the Doctor kind of come to terms with being someone different than she thought she always was. Now, we have a loss of 2 of our companions, and they will be replaced by 1. And we think that having only 2 companions, one played by John Bishop, who's just coming in. He's known as a comedian by many people in the UK. They're going to pick him up in Liverpool, and it seems that that's going to be kind of their home base in the same way that Cardiff was in early series, and later Yorkshire. So they're just moving down the coast, it looks like. So anyway, we expect that it's going to open up possibilities in the relationships, and the new companion should be interesting. And there's also some talk about Captain Jack Harkness continuing. He was, of course, in the last episode where he frees the Doctor from the Jadoon jail, and it's likely that he will play some part as an occasional character in the 13th series. We hear from Alex Kingston that she would really like River Song to be included in season 13. It seems like there would be an interesting dynamic between Jodie Whittaker and Alex Kingston, and of course their characters. So these are some of the rumors that are going along, and the biggest rumor, of course, is that Jodie Whittaker will finish her run as the Doctor at the end of Series 13, and Series 14 will be a whole new regeneration. And the odds makers right now in Britain are saying Chris Marshall, who we may know from Love Actually, a movie, is the odds favorite to be the Doctor, although some have said that Georgina Campbell, who was in Broadchurch and also a popular Black Mirror episode called Hang the DJ, would be a proper replacement as well, to put another woman in the spot. And also, Michael Sheen, who was Aziraphale in Good Omens, is another possibility to go in that slot. They haven't even acknowledged that Jodie Whittaker is leaving, but the likelihood is quite possible. Of course, my choice would be Joe Martin. We've already established with Tom Baker in the 50th anniversary episode that sometimes when you've had so many faces, some of the old favorites come back. And I would really like to explore longer her realm as the Doctor, because she in one episode had a bigger impact on me, I think, than Jodie Whittaker did in all the time that she's been on. There are sometimes where even when you take good actors, they're just not fit for the kind of role they're in. Jodie Whittaker was brilliant in Broadchurch, but I find her somewhat lacking in Doctor Who, and Jo Martin was just pitch perfect for the role she played. I could see her as the Doctor. I'd like to see her as more of it. That's just my opinion. I'd like to hear yours. Put them in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe as we talk about Doctor Who, we talk about Star Trek, the Orville. All these things will be coming back eventually as the pandemic starts to ease itself off. And we can't wait for these things to start, although we'll have to wait. So we'll try to keep you updated on things that are running through the rumor mills as they start back in production, and try to get you some premiere dates and things such as that. But in the meantime, don't go far.